Hey, what's going on, fellow coders? I just wanted to bring you a quick video this week that is all about what is happening in and around my first month. That's right, my first month in coding. So as of Wednesday, I have been actively coding every single day with some of those 0 day. Check out the video about no 0 days. There has been a few 0 days. Don't judge me. So here's what we've got ahead for the end of this month. I'm finishing out the second project with Treehouse in their second unit, which I want to bring that to you guys. So what I plan to do for that actual project is show you the project similar to what I did before, but this time I want to break down the code. Not because I want to just, pull back the kimono on what they're trying to do for their projects, but more specifically, because I want to see if I can talk through my code. I want to see if I can show it on the screen, walk through it, give the ideas out of my head onto the screen on what's on my text editor and why I did what I did. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do this before or after it gets graded. I don't know. If you have any thoughts, let me know. Either way, if you watch it after the fact, you'll know what I decided. What I want to talk about this week is meetups. I got an opportunity to go to my first coding meetup. It only took me 3 weeks in the community before I was like, I need to get out. I need to get into the space. I need to find other people who are doing what I'm doing. And that's what I did. And it was awesome. Here's what I did. I just went to, obviously Google and typed, coding meetups Dallas, right? That's what I decided to do. And I found one that was happening that day, literally that day. I was like, oh, great, this would be awesome. I'm gonna go check this one out. What I did not do a good enough job of was reading what this event would be about. I just figured, it's about coding. Everyone does what I do, right? It's wrong. Suffice to say, it would be highly recommended to do a slight bit more research if you're going to be going out to a meetup. Let's say you're learning JavaScript and this whole meetup is about Python. That doesn't mean you can't go. I still think you should absolutely go. Just know that there's a lot inside this world and this community as I continue to learn. And what I did not realize was this was a Women Who Code meetup. Before you get too crazy with laughter, just know it was fantastic. It was just chock full of really great information about the space. Obviously, I was one of two guys in the room, which was great. It seems like they have done a fantastic job though. This organization, this Women Who Code organization, if you are at all or happen to be a woman who codes or is thinking about coding, I highly recommend that you find one of these chapters if it's local. It seems it was obviously local here, but it seems to be national and potentially international. And if you don't have a local one near you, I really think you should try to see what you can do to find out. Go to the Women Who Code, I assume it's womenwhocode.org. I will include a link in the description if that's what it is. If it is not, I'll include whatever the appropriate link is. Either way, if there is not a local chapter, I highly recommend that you find out how to start one. I was surrounded by incredibly intelligent, funny, generous, genuine women within this community, new, experienced. It was just fantastic. Right at the beginning of the event, they celebrated one of the women. I don't know how long she's been coming. I don't know if she was friends with how many people in the room. I'm not too sure. Obviously, this is my first one, but they were celebrating her finding her first job in coding. It was fantastic. She was a teacher, I believe, 3rd grade teacher or 9th grade English teacher, something like that. And she, 3rd and 9th grade, anyway, she was a teacher. Now she is in coding, software development. I believe JavaScript, front end, full stack. There's a lot of words that were being thrown around. I might have gotten confused and lost. Anyway, it was an amazing event and they were just celebrating her getting her first job. And the way that she got her first job was through, I believe, some sort of job board that they have available to the Women Who Code members. It was great. They have their own Slack channel. I don't know if they have something like a Discord or not, or whatever the case is. They have an amazing newsletter. I highly recommend that you check them out. All of that being said though, I don't know if it's an event I would go to again. Clearly I'm not a woman who codes and I don't identify with the other, what I presume to be either large part of the organization or definitely something that they promote, which is the LGBTQ community also, and including and increasing this diverse atmosphere and culture and community within coding, which I think is just fantastic. But I don't fall within any of those categories. And for that, it didn't seem to really be the event for me. Though they didn't shun me and they didn't kick me out and there wasn't a bouncer at the door, luckily, because that would have been just really embarrassing. It just didn't seem like the community for me completely. Most notably, I wasn't invited to join their Slack channel, or I don't know if it would really make sense for me to be on their job boards because I'm not a woman who codes. Suffice to say, incredible event. I will probably go to more of them, but it's not necessarily the community for me. So I do want to go find that, and I highly recommend that you find one as well. So it took me about 3 weeks to be able to get out to my first event, my first community-driven coding event. I don't know how long you have been in this space or thinking about getting into this space, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do it. One of the things that I took away so dramatically from this event was the opportunity to ask questions of people who are much more experienced in the space. There was someone who'd been in the business for 10 years sitting right next to someone who had just gotten a job. I mean, but sitting in your own little world, looking at your text editor, trying to figure out, I use VS Code, by the way, not sure if you're a fan, I'm really enjoying it. But learning how to ask questions of Google has become very, very, very important, or Stackflow, or GitHub, or something like that. But there's something different about interfacing with someone face to face and having to come up with a way to ask your questions, continue a conversation. It really tests your understanding of the vernacular of coding, your particular language of coding. When you're having these conversations and you're asking these questions and you're listening to other people's answers and you're interacting in these conversations, it's almost like this really great immersive way of learning a language, right? Because language and coding, and see how this is all fitting together? When you want to learn a language really well and as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible, it's really important to get as immersive as possible. And that's what these meetup opportunities allow you to do, especially if you're new, because you don't have a job yet, or maybe you're the handful of coders at a particular startup or company or whatever the case is, and you don't get to have these conversations or think through logically how you would ask a question or tackle a problem. And that's what these events allow you to do. It gets very immersive very quickly. And if you're like me, who's just super inquisitive, I asked a ton of questions, but I also was just eavesdropping on every conversation I possibly could, because all of them were fantastic. Just talking about this project or how they're solving this problem or this problem and the ways they're going about doing that. And it was just really great to be able to get out there and get out of my own head and just learn. It was awesome. And I highly recommend that you do it if you have not already, or if you haven't in a minute, get back out there and get back into the community, because either you're looking for a place to go, maybe the place you work at is looking for coders. I don't know what your situation is, but I guarantee getting out there and getting into the community is a great answer to whatever it is that is currently ailing you. All that being said, it has been a really, really great first month in this space, in this community. I've found some amazing people that I've watched on YouTube, podcasts, articles on Medium. I'll share some of those links down below. Highly recommend you guys check those out. Treehouse has just been wonderful. They have this study group. They've got office hours. They've obviously got a Slack channel per unit, and then an overarching Slack channel where there's just like chit chat and random questions. There's a review my project before I submit it. I mean, there's just so many different places to get plugged in and to get dialed in on what it is that you want to do within this space. I just love it. It's truly been incredible, and I highly recommend that you just get plugged in somewhere, because that's really been what's been driving me this whole time. Obviously, I've been doing this for 30 days and I've been crushing it. There has been only like a few 0 days. No 0 days. Just check out the link up above. But really, don't have 0 days if you don't have to. And I've had a couple. Stop judging me. Really just talking to myself there. But either way, I highly recommend you get out there and you get into it, because otherwise what you end up getting stuck in is, here's a conversation I was having with my wife as I was out at that meetup right here. This is me talking about how I felt like I was getting hit in the face with so much information. It was crazy. And then she asked how it was going, and then she called me a nerd? A nerd? Anyway. So she calls me a nerd, and then I drop the affirmative, because that's what you do in that situation. And then this is me talking about, trying to listen to everybody talk about their coding language, and it just was goodness, it was crazy. Anyway, it was an awesome event. Highly recommend you get out there. There's a ton of growth opportunity by doing that, so be sure to check it out. Especially if you're, like I said, a woman who codes. That organization just looks fantastic, so I definitely recommend you getting into it. All right, guys, that is it for today. Like I said, the next video that comes to you will be me breaking down the second project within my Treehouse unit. What I really want to do is see if I can show off a project. It's not lighting the world on fire, I assure you, but it's a cool little project. But more specifically, be able to show that project off, but then talk through my solution to the requested, what they wanted from the project. Because to me, that's really what it feels like a lot of what this is going to be like. Whether you're freelancing or you're working in an organization, whatever the case is, you're presented with a problem or you're presented with an opportunity to make something better or whatever the case is. And then you have to go about solving it, and you have to go about getting after it. So in this case, the entire project, they gave you a bunch of X, and they said, now we want you to take X and make it look better, operate better, function better. And that has been part of what I've seen within even just my little bit of front-end work prior to even jumping into Treehouse, when I was developing websites and web pages and all this other stuff, even just simple WordPress stuff. You'll have a client come to you and say, this is what I want to do, can you do that for me? And then you have to set about finding a solution and putting it into practice and work and showing them what you did. That's kind of what this is. So I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to see if I can succinctly walk through my own code with you, sort of. It's not like there's going to be Q&A live or anything, but be able to walk through my code to explain the choices I've made and how I plan to do it, and hopefully get some feedback from you, from them. I'll obviously be submitting the project and hopefully being able to get those exceeds expectations on that project. And there was some new different language and some new concepts that were brought about, not even in, like I said before, the full unit, but just in the study guide for the unit, which is just a really interesting way to learn. Here's everything you're going to need to know to do your project. And then here's this other information right before you start it that will hopefully help you get an exceeds expectations and new concepts and everything else. It's like a weird, if you were like in school and they were like, your test is on Thursday and everything we've been learning up to these 6 weeks is on this test and everything's good to go. And then like an hour before the test, they were like, also here's a bunch of other work for you to do to get like an A+ that we didn't cover in the previous 6 weeks. Good luck. That's what it's like, and it's awesome. And I love it. So anyway, that's what the next video is about. If you have not already, this year, which is crazy because it's like December, it's late in the year. Get to a meetup this year before 2019 and really tackle one. Try to make it part of your daily life as a coder, because it really helped me a ton. And it looked like, even from those that had been in the space before and had been doing this for a long time, it was tremendously helpful and fun for them as well. Either way, I appreciate you being here. I really look forward to getting you that next video all about Project 2. Have a good one. Cheers.